The other area that I mentioned is best practices in research. So you have tools, you have standards that support those tools, and you also need to make sure that people know how to use all this stuff and really kind of know the state of the industry and the state of play. I mentioned image description guidelines, so we are certainly providing training on those image description guidelines actively. Product evaluation matrices, I have links in this presentation which I know will be provided, and I'll also have here to DIAGRAMcenter.org, which is the Diagram website, and all of these things can be found there. Product evaluation matrices are continually being updated for both production tools and reading tools to talk about how well do these tools handle all of this stuff today. It's a sad story in some areas, but it's getting happier as we move forward. But we want to make sure that both commercial reading tools, for example, as well as specialized assistive reading devices are covered, and then on the production side, various production tools. So what's next? This is the stuff I talked about are things that we've been doing and things that we've been working on. There is a lot more to come. Diagram is a 5-year project, and we've just finished the 2nd year. So we are looking ahead. In POET, George just mentioned content model support. That literally, as we speak, is about to be launched. It's being worked on right now. And support for EPUB 3, because right now it supports doing work on image descriptions in DAISY books, which I'm going to guess as I look at our friends in the publishing industry, they're probably not doing a lot of their work in DAISY 3. So we want to make sure we support EPUB 3 in these tools as well. Continue to improve the UI, MathML support, so making sure that you can actually look at these things that are image equations and support some MathML input and updating, and we'll talk a lot more about that as we get closer. And more STEM support, just making sure that guidelines and everything that are right there to make it really easy to use. I mentioned the image accessibility coverage checker for EPUB 3, so this, again, you can link to the current version on the DAISY side, so this will then move into the EPUB 3 side, that is essentially going to be looking for, are there some of these content model elements filled in? Are there image descriptions anywhere here? Prototypes, so there's other prototype tools that are being worked on now. There's an automated image description and tactographic decision tree. Lucia Hasty, working with Banna, had done a decision tree about when do you do a tactographic. Well, that's being updated and in work with Smith Kettlewell and with Steve Landau, Touch Graphics, looking at how to automate that so that, again, you can have a describer spending less time kind of figuring out what to describe. QR codes for tactile annotation, so when you have a tactographic, actually having one of those cool little square QR code readers on there that could read out a description. Simplified math notation system is what Dave just talked about, so we're happy to be working with Dave on that. And there will be much more to come. We knew when we did Diagram that we couldn't just say we propose to do these things over 5 years because we knew things would keep changing. We also knew we had to actually pull other smart people in to do projects. And that's reflected in this work. And of course, we're just going to keep doing field testing of all of these tools and make sure that when they actually get in the hands of a student, a teacher, a publisher, et cetera, that they work. On the standard side, EPUB 3 accessibility is, of course, huge in this area, and we continue to collaborate on that. We will help in any way that Matt needs us to help update the accessible EPUB 3 publication, and he is planning on an update that will include all of this content model stuff we just talked about. Continued advocacy and monitoring progress. So part of our job, we think, is to sort of do this and come out and talk to people and make sure that everybody knows what's out there and what's available and what needs to be done. Reference implementations, so it's great to come up with tools. It helps if somebody implements something that you can show. And then exploring integration opportunities with other standards. We're talking actively with people about APIP and IMS and the areas around assessments and all the images in assessments, among others. Best practices in research. Some of our other subcontracts, we're working with the National Bureau of Press on looking at 3D printers. For those of you who haven't seen them, they're very cool, and having commercial devices whose price is going down every month that can actually pop out a 3D tactile representation is a pretty cool idea. So we're looking at those. Looking at more usability of audio tactiles and text tactiles. Doing a collaboration with another OSEP-funded project called Metric, which is the Mathematics eText Research Center, to actually see how well math descriptions work in classrooms. Okay. Doing interviews with content providers. So again, we want to make sure that what we're doing helps you folks in the audience to provide accessible materials, because that's the goal. And then finally, what are the end users saying about this? Does it work? What's still needed? Where do we go from here? So where do we go from here? Well, we want to look at things, further work on tactiles. We want to look at haptics more, and you're going to hear some cool stuff from Ed in a minute. Low-cost refreshable displays. This stuff's still too expensive, and where it intersects with images and graphics, we love, love, love to make sure that all of this works together and is less expensive. Interactives and manipulation, image exploration. I think there are a bunch of areas, and the good news is that next week we have a bunch of these great people together to talk about this. We're having a 2-day offsite of all of our advisors and working group members to say, where do we go from here? And it's, so if you hear little explosions out from California, you'll know it's all of us talking about this topic. Finally, how can you get involved? So if you're not already involved, please, you can follow Diagram on Twitter at @DiagramC. You can pilot diagram tools, if I know there are definitely some higher education institutions here. You can advocate to standards bodies, you can join a working group, you can get updates and spread the word, and you can contact us at info@diagramcenter.org so that we make Born Digital mean Born Accessible. Thanks.